Hey, we're learning the Mayim Rabim. The Rebbe said in 1977 after he started to recuperate from his heart attack. Now, in general, in Chassidus, we have a concept that's going to be the thrust of this paragraph, and that is that Hashem doesn't send the neshama into this world just to get by. It's not worth it. Or in the Talmudic teaching, that's not called a business deal. If Moshe, makes a piece of art and it costs him so much and so much, and he sells it for so much and so much for the same price, the Gemara would say to him, "Are you a businessman?" A businessman is supposed to make profit. To make profit, you need to sell it for more than what it's worth, than what it cost you. The same is true with the neshama. If the whole idea of the neshama coming down into this world, investing itself in a body, and encountering all the different challenges is just about to get by, that's let's call it the survival mode. It's not worth it. It's more painful for the neshama to have to go through that and come back to Hashem to say, luckily I got by. So the idea is that the neshama coming into this world gets a benefit it didn't have before. So now it's worth it. It's just like the businessman who works hard, spends money, time, and effort in doing whatever he does, and then reaps the benefit of the profit. This is the thrust of this coming chapter, and it comes a continuation of what we learned yesterday. What did we learn yesterday? That although the nefesh habam is the animal drive, which is full of passion, etc., comes from the world of toyu, the world of chaos, which precedes tikkun. Nevertheless, at the end of the day, the neshama is rooted even in something higher called atzmos, essence, which transcends both toyu and tikkun, both nefesh elikis and nefesh habamis. So the nefesh elikis, the godly soul, the neshama, there's the way the neshama is within the confines of a scenario, I versus yous, godliness versus animalism, indulgences, etc. And in that confine, we say that passion belongs to the animal and the normalcy belongs to the godly soul. So therefore, humans who are supposed to be normal is from Olam HaTikkun, and animals come from Olam HaToyu. But there's something greater about the neshama that transcends. It transcends this scenario. And this is important just for a moment. When you learn Chassidus, you have to know the context in which the particular mimer is talking about. When you start comparing apples to oranges and oranges to pears, you're going to have, convoluted situation and questions. You have to know what is the desired structure and objective of a particular mimer that you're learning. And therefore, in yesterday's shir, chapter 3 of this mimer, the Rebbe taught us that when you talk about toyu and tikkun on its own, nefesh elikis versus nefesh habam, is the answer is not the answer. The discussion and the reality is that toyu is koydem tikkun. Toyu has priority over tikkun. But when you talk about transcendence, the neshama is greater. Tikkun is greater. And we read in the note, it's like Yaakov and Esav coming out. Although Esav comes out first, the kavanah is Yaakov. Yaakov was conceived first. So, in continuation with this, let's start now, chapter 4, page 304. והנה לא זו בלבד שאין ביכולת מים רב מנה לכבס את סהב וחס ושלום סהבו, Not only cannot the abundant waters of worries, of anxiety and worrisome thoughts, preoccupation with livelihood, parnosa, not only can it not extinguish the fire and love that the soul has, shalom neshama, even say to Mizu, even more so, shal yodam nasa yisrim biya'avo. The Mayim Rabim actually become a trigger, a springboard for something greater, a qualitative different kind of love that the soul attains because of the abundant waters. And that answers the question, Chevra, why are we here? Why do we have challenges? I'd rather sit on the beach or play golf or sit in Beis Medrash. Leave me alone. So what does Rashi say? Bikish Yaakov Leisha V'Shalva. Yaakov wanted to sit peacefully. Hashem said, really? Kof Tzol of Rugza Shel Yosef, Rashi says. It sprang upon Yaakov the wrath of Joseph. What's the pshat? Not only, the pshat is that you have it all wrong, Yaakov. If you think that you're here just to sit on your loins and to enjoy, you don't understand why you came. You would have never come here. It's better up there. What do you have to come down here? You came here because there's something here you can't get up there. You can get something more here. But the way to get it is through challenges. And if a person thinks about this and works it and it becomes part of the DNA, they'll be a happier person. Mamish, mamish, mamish. You'll be a happier person. Let's go. And this is how does this advantage to the soul take place? It's by the descent of the soul from on high into the physical world. And investing itself in the abundant waters, going to work, dealing with work, the anxiety of everything that the person is involved with. When one reaches to a higher level, they reach a higher level to the way they were prior to coming into this world. And here he says what I said earlier. This is the ultimate purpose of Mayim Rabim of the abundant waters mentioned earlier. Next page, 305. Saif. The end is they can't extinguish the love in the heart, in the love of the neshama for Hashem. Because the ultimate deep purpose and intent of the abundant waters, Gufa, that they themselves, who are is just the opposite, but they live for Yisrael and Ba'ava. It's the cause and advantage in the love. In other words, it would be an oxymoron if you were to say that the Mayim Rabim can extinguish the love, the fire in the heart. Because the purpose of the Mayim Rabim is to make you grow. Now, why must you say that? Why? Because Hashem is all good. And Hashem wants your benefit. Why Hashem would not create something that contradicts himself? Right? Hashem is good, he does good. So everything does good. So obviously you must say that these challenges that you have from the Mayim Rabim, from the abundant waters, the daigas haparnasa, the worrisome preoccupation and anxiety of livelihood, is good. You hear that? It's good. The Rebbe would always repeat something that I heard, I heard it and I said, wow. The Rebbe always said that my father-in-law, the Frierdiker Rebbe, was always in debt. And he explained that itself was so that he feels the debt and every day tries to solve the debt. So the debt itself is the tool for the growth, for the removal of the debt. Look with Eretz Yisrael, October 7th. It took, we're not talking now Hashem, but it took October 7th to wake the country up, to wake the government up, to wake the IDF up, and who knows if they're still really up. But that's not, I'm just saying. So when you look back, you say, did Hashem have to make an October 7th? Hashem doesn't have to make it. Hashem can do anything. But logically, you see that the purpose of of what is perceived negative, distorting and problematic and challenges is actually growth. Yes, sir.
I'm a little bit confused on what neshama we're talking about here. The Maamar seems to be talking about the nefesh elokis. However, from my understanding and learning Tanya, the nefesh elokis doesn't need any tikkun. It's coming down here to work on the nefesh habahamis and to elevate, transform, or subdue the nefesh habahamis.
That is one explanation in Tanya. There's a deeper explanation in the same Tanya, and that is that the purpose of the neshama coming down is not for correcting the nefesh habahamis, it's for itself, and that's what we're learning about here.
Okay.
So you're referring
to a stira.
No, it's not a stira. It's not a stira.
The nefesh elokis is perfect. It's mamash from the mahus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Yes, but how does that perfection express
it? It's a higher level than tohu, but yet it comes down because it can, in some way, become more perfected to go.
I would put it a little differently, I think. The perfection of the neshama, as God sees it, requires it to come down, because by coming down, it attains what it didn't have before.
But it came from a place of perfection.
Imperfection itself. There's perfection and there's perfection. There's in other words, that's what I said. That's why I gave the introduction. The perfection of the neshama is within the realm of nefesh elokis versus nefesh habahamis.
Right.
Then there is a perfection that transcends that scenario, and that's what we're talking about here. That perfection isn't you versus I and how I can beat you or how I can correct you. It's not about that. It's about, you're going to see soon, the Rebbe's words might be clearer to you, that it's about returning to its very essence from God's perspective, which is beyond the you versus I.
Okay.
Let's learn further, and I encourage you to read the notes on your own. And if it's still not clear, we will try, to give other examples. Let's go on. So we're on page 305. And he says, "Uvavoida ha'ilui shenase b'neshama ha'idei yosel lemata v'slabshusa b'mayim rabim anal." And in regard to serving Hashem, the advantage that the neshama attains by its descent below and its investment into these abundant waters, who sheba le'inyan hatshuva. This is where the neshama attains tshuva. So, Isser, in heaven, the nefesh elokis didn't have tshuva, and that's what I meant. That there's perfection and there's perfection. The virtue of tshuva didn't exist. And when the neshama comes here, nefesh elokis, independent of what it does for the nefesh habahamis, attains the virtue of tshuva. Let's see how he puts it. Let's go further. 306, ukiyadua, and as is known, the soul prior to its descent into a body, neshamos, souls pre-descent are completely righteous, tzadikim gemurim. And the advantage by him that the souls attain by descending into a body, they become at the level of Bali Tshuva. And we know the Chazal say that the place where Baalei Teshuvah stand, tzaddikim geburim einam mayim, holy, complete tzaddikim can't stand. Think of it this way, if I may so and be so bold. Those of us, those people that have a spouse, you wouldn't be the same without your spouse. Now, I'm not talking about a marriage that doesn't go well, and please don't catch me by my leg, The Rabbi Soloveitchik, Rabbi Yasha Ber, the great Goin, Rabbi Yasha Ber Soloveitchik said, if not for his wife, who knows where I'd be, he said. Okay? That's one statement that I repeat because it's fascinating. Number two, we know the Rebbe said to Dov Heiken, at the time the local assemblyman here in Brooklyn, and it was during Shiva in 1988 when the people went by the Rebbe to wish him condolences. So he said to the Rebbe something like, your wife was special. The Rebbe says something to the effect, yeah, she was very much underestimated. It's online, you can hear it. And I believe there's a lot in that statement, a lot in those few words. And I'm not going into, the personal Chabad side of it. I'm talking about the aspect that a spouse gives so much to the husband, or vice versa also, that they didn't have before. So it's not just about we correct each other, we compliment each other. You gain something new that you didn't have before you got married. And that includes challenges, difficulties, arguments, difference of opinions. It's all included. The neshama is the same way. The neshama is sitting in heaven and basking in the glory of Hashem and learning and davening and farbringing and kibitzing and has all its friends and everything. All of a sudden you say, out, get out of here, go down. But it's so good here. It's so nice and warm. It's so comfortable. What do I have to go down for? Go down. You'll see why. And what's the answer? Not just, as you said, Isser, quoting that section of Tanya to correct the Nefesh Abam, for itself. What does it gain? Tshuva. What is tshuva? Tshuva means dealing with obstacles, failing, and getting back up. The neshama in Gan Eden and Ilam Haba and all the levels doesn't have that at all. That's what the Rebbe says here. The purpose of the Mayim Rabim, its purpose is to make stronger the neshama. And I remind myself now, this is the section in Tanya where the Alter Rebbe brings the mashal of the prostitute from Zohar. That the king wants to see how loyal the son is, so he hires a prostitute to tempt him. But that prostitute, she knows the plan because the king hired her. So she hires a second one hires a third one, and the last one who does the actual tempting of the son has no idea. She's just doing her job. What's the purpose? The purpose is to see the real strength and commitment of the son. That's the same idea here. The challenges and temptations and everything we have, to begin with, the kavanah, the intent is to make us stronger. So if that's the case, we need the Mayim Rabim. That's the virtue. That's the novelty in this chapter 4. Not only do the abundant waters and worries and preoccupation with livelihood, not only do they not extinguish the love of the soul for Hashem, they actually make it better. You hear that, Chavre? They actually make it stronger. Rise to the challenge. How are you going to rise to the challenge? When you get a good kick, you know where, excuse me, you rise to the challenge. That's exactly what the Hashem is doing with the neshama. It's putting it into a messy situation that says, now, show what you got. That's exactly what we're learning here. Let's continue. Asher Mokim, yeah. V'yisei mizu, page 306, the last line, v'yisei mizu, more than this, she'en yecholim mamod. Not only do tzaddikim, complete tzaddikim, not only don't they stand in the place of Bali Tshuva, they can't stand there. Yecholim. They don't have the ability. There is the actual, I don't stand here, and there's not only I don't stand there, I even can't get there. It's out of my realm, out of my ballpark. Look, the Rebbe says, afilu b'yecholim shelehem. It isn't even in their ability to stand there in the place of tzaddikim, of Bali Tshuva. And this is why the soul descended below, because the idea of tshuva. Hagam she'ein alavedas dafka. Although tshuva is not only for sins, rather tshuva means to return the soul to its source. When could the neshama return? When do you return? When you're not in the place. You return to somewhere. The Rebbe says the neshama coming below, that's the only time it can return. Moshe, you hear me? If the neshama is in its comfort zone, there's nothing for it to return. Where are you returning to? You're there. When you travel to Budapest, to your son, and you want to return to Eretz Yisrael, you got to make a return flight. So the whole idea of returning is only applicable when you're outside of your comfort zone. You hear that? In other words, and what he's getting at is only when you engage Mayim Rabim will you succeed in returning to the highest place of your soul, i.e., the virtue of tshuva over tzaddikim gemurim. Now, Isser, I want to know, do you understand this? Because it's, I don't know, to me it's a fairly clear, simple concept. Do you now understand it, or you still don't? Hello? Oh, you do? Okay, right. I'm laughing because, you told us that you just left it's like with all the headaches, you became greater by having those headaches and the travels. And I'm just saying, okay, you mentioned Hashem, that's the point here. That
you may think so.
What?
You may think so, but I had a lot more Ahavas Yisrael beforehand.
Okay, so then you've just told us that you didn't accomplish the avoid of Mayim Rabim. You have more to work on. No, that's what he's saying. He's saying the purpose is that you'll have even greater Ahavas Yisrael.
I have something to work on until my last breath.
Yes.
Don't worry.
Yeah. No, but you understand the point. This is our struggle. Every one of us, it's our struggle, We want it in a sense like, it's but this, what we're learning in the Maimon is the emes. That's the truth. That the reason for hardships and challenges to make the neshama stronger. So in other words, to have Ahavas Yisrael with all the mishagas thrown at you is a greater accomplishment than to have Ahavas Yisrael with the people you know. That would be the scenario here. Okay, let's go on. And he says, right? If you're in your original place, it's not possible for you to return to your source. You're there. Next page. And it says the spirit should return to God who gave you the soul. Since the virtue of the Baal Tshuva, is much greater than the virtue of tzaddikim. And it's not just a relative difference between the two, but it's Adam finitum greater. There's no comparison. Their canal, as we said earlier, the place which tzaddikim bali tshuva stand. Complete tzaddikim. Not only aren't they there, they can't even dream of being there. Through the idea of tshuva, shemes chadash b'neshama b'yidadosa. Look at the word. Chevra, Shemes Chadish, Chaim Zev, the word Shemes Chadish, through the inyan of tshuva, which creates a new situation. That word is the main word here. There's a chidush in the neshama through the Mayim Rabim. That chidush only happens when you're engaged in the Mayim Rabim, or in this case, when the soul comes into the body. Next page, 309. By descending below in a body, you are elevated even greater, even greater than the way your soul was. Look what he says here in its source. You see, sir, there is the source of the nefesh haba elikis, that's called the shoresh, and there is something even greater than the source. I told you, the source is already a limitation. The source already means I'm taking into consideration that it's tit for tat, you against me, I and you. And I'm the source to that. Then there's something that transcends the source, which is the essence. The essence isn't the source. The source comes from the essence. This is what we call Hashem. Who, in other words, this is the level of godliness which was endowed, which was given, was endowed. So this is the Rebbe's point in this chapter, that to realize not only is the Mayim Rabim not a stumbling block, it's actually an aid. I believe that each and every one of us in their life can find this, and at times it's difficult too. Like Issa just said, it reaches a point where you can't take it anymore. And that's why you need a Rebbe. You have a Rebbe, you can rely on your Rebbe to see what your neshama needs and to guide you in that direction. And it's not about that a Rebbe is a good counselor, a good advisor. For that, go to an academic. The counsels to what work you should do. That's not what a Rebbe is. A Rebbe sees your neshama, but you have to be willing to submit and to Hashem vis-a-vis the Rebbe, who shares what your neshama needs. 1 second. And that is what a Rebbe is. So a Rebbe helps us find the Mayim Rabim, not necessarily the reasons why Hashem put us here. And that's an emunah. It's an emunah if you have in a tzaddik. Yes, Moshe.
I just want to say, for sure, just commenting on what we were speaking about before, we see though in general, to go on, to have a shlichus in a place where you're in amongst a population that is, not so observant, it's generally easier, probably on a ruchni level, to be in that type of situation, as opposed to being in a situation when you're shlichus in a place amongst everybody who are quote unquote, observant. That can be very, very challenging.
Okay. But that's true. But that's the point of of what we learned now, is that if you're in a place where everyone else is from and observant and all of that, that means that your neshama's mission is here. What you said now, what I heard is, it's easier there. Thank you. But for you and I, us living in from areas, our mission, for whatever reason, is here.
Right.
And for us to say, oh, it's easier there, is a cop-out. Now, if there's a reason for one to move elsewhere, it's a different... But while you're in that situation, you have to know that the Mayim Rabim are yours to make you stronger. That's the point. That's why I mentioned at the end, a Rebbe, if you have that emunah, a Rebbe, opens up to you and for you, and he says, your neshama belongs here, belongs there, as we know some of these stories, like, why here, why there? Why should I do this work? You understand? Those are things that are concealed, and at times a tzaddik, a rebbe, will reveal them to you without much verbiage and explanation, and you say, but you want a dialogue. The whole idea of dialogue with a rebbe in Chabad is a foreign idea, and I would say even not Chabad. If a rebbe becomes a good counselor, or psychologist, or advisor, or businessman, he's not a rebbe. I'm sorry, he's a fine person and a good advisor, but he's not a rebbe. A rebbe is a neshama thing, a soul thing, and that addresses another issue. Having a rebbe after his lifetime, it's like people always ask me. And I say about the Rebbe is passing and on, how is he still the Rebbe and all of that. And I say, how much time do you think Lubavitcher Chassidim had with the Lubavitcher Rebbe while he was alive? So you wrote, sometimes you got an answer, sometimes you didn't get an answer. It's not about the amount of time. It's not about the amount of letters. You understand it's pashut a mistake. And in the Chabad model, in other models, maybe it's not a mistake, but that's another discussion, which I know Moshe said in the past. He's dying. He's waiting for me to talk about that. Difference between Chabad Rebbes and other Rebbes. At the right time, we will. Maybe when we get there to show, we'll make a Fabrengen, Moshe, and we'll get into that. But
sounds good.
Yeah, but it's an important nakuda, and that's why. Between you and I'm not talking about, friends of Lubavitch. It's hard to be a Lubavitcher Chassid of a Lubavitcher Rebbe, especially a Lubavitcher Rebbe who's passed on 31 years ago. And this isn't Breslev. And those that say this, it's like Breslev, you have it all wrong. Read my book on Chabad and Breslev, you'll see that completely different. Completely different. Outwardly, it looks a little the same. But if you know the inside, the kishkes, it's completely different. Not that one's better than the other, it's just two different approaches. So the Chabad approach was the Chochmah Bina Das, all of a sudden, doesn't have a living Rebbe for 31 years, outwardly. Right? And so the only way, at least for me, to look at this and understand it is, well, not the only way, but one of the ways is that the whole idea of a Rebbe being there to answer you and to write to you and to make with his head to you and to smile at you, that's not a Chabad Rebbe. Chabad Rebbe is something very different. Now again, everyone has their belief, and I'm not obliging anyone that's not Chabad, wants to be a Chabad Lubavitcher Chassid, to feel this way. And this is a problem because what's become. But what's become today, even in Chabad, which is something that I and my friends we rally against, is this whole idea of the Rebbe has to smile to you and write to you and talk to you, and you have it all wrong. It never was this way. We have a history of 200 years. Lubavitch has a history of 200 years, Rebbe after Rebbe, Maimorim after Maimorim. This is the one Hasidus that not only you have a Rebbe to believe in, look into the writings. There's 200 years, thousands of pages. Look into the writings. You'll see what they believe. You don't need to trust Chaim Dalfin or any other Malas Friedman. Look into the writings. And what does it say in the writings? It says in the writings that it's something very different. So that is when a chassid feels that he needs that, and that's something that is a truism from the Alter Rebbe down. And of course you say, so why do I have to be a chassid of this last Lubavitcher Rebbe? I can be a chassid of the Alter Rebbe. The answer is because in every generation, the neshama of one of these Rebbes came into, our Rebbe came into this last generation. And we can take generation as Isser, not in the sense of you asked a month ago or so, whatever, about what a generation is. I mean, and that's it. So, logically, I will be the first to admit that logically this doesn't make sense in a way, because, logically, who is this Rebbe? Where is he? What's going on here? Is he alive? Is he breathing? Is he talking? So this is a whole spiritual ruchnis. It's a rewiring, be'emes. It's a rewiring of how of who we are and what Hashem is and what Torah is. Torah transcends the physical, logical world. We have to bank, and it's not the Western way of thinking. The whole Western way of thinking is foreign, completely foreign to Torah thinking. We take from the Western way of thinking things to enhance the Torah way of thinking, absolutely. But it's a completely different mechanism. Have a great Shabbos. And we'll see everyone on Monday with Hashem. Zay Gesund. Thank you. Good learning, good discussion. Bye-bye.